This episode of Archispeak is brought to you by Arcat. What's the one thing we all do in our practice? Search the internet for content, right? Well, we wanted to let you know about Arcat.com. Arcat is an online resource devoted to bringing content to the building professional. They have huge libraries you can access, and they don't hit you up for subscriptions. There are no fees, and they won't make you register to download content. We've all been there. You finally find the right file, and you get blocked with a registration pop-up, and you think, thanks for wasting my time, I'll find it somewhere else. Arcat's BIM library is really second to none and available in just about any format you need. In fact, their entire BIM library is formatted to the last 5 versions of Revit. Their CAD detail library has thousands of CAD details, and if you need specs, the Arcat library is the most consistent library you'll find. Every single spec is written in the CSI 3-part format. There's so much more on their site, including catalogs, videos, and a spec wizard. Go to arcat.com or download their app to check it out. It's a great free resource, and you don't have to register to use. Check it out today at arcat.com, arcat.com, and don't forget to provide feedback on their site. There's a button on the right-hand side of every page. Have a suggestion to make Arcat better? Click the feedback button and let them know, and tell them that Archispeak sent you. Thanks, Arcat, for sponsoring this episode of Archispeak.
And this episode of Archispeak is also brought to you by AIA Contract Documents. As the industry standard, AIA Contract Documents stay ahead of the industry trends and updates the core set of documents every 10 years to ensure design and construction projects are protected. Some of the major changes affecting architects include a single sustainable exhibit that can be added to any AIA document, new agreements containing a fill point to prompt the parties to discuss and insert an appropriate termination fee for terminations for convenience, and an added evaluation provision by the architect if the contractor proposes an alternative means and methods. Download samples of the newly revised 2017 AIA documents at aiacontracts.org/podcast. And this episode of Archispeak is also brought to you by Construct, the only dedicated national trade show and education conference for the commercial building teams that spec and source building products. Construct is held in conjunction with the Construction Specification Institute's annual convention. The event is taking place September 13th through the 15th in Providence, Rhode Island at the Rhode Island Convention Center. Construct offers a variety of options for industry professionals looking to learn more about the industry, check out the latest products, technologies, and to network. Construct is providing an exclusive offer for Archispeak listeners. Register for Construct by August 4th and get 5% off a full education package, 15% off an individual session, or a free expo pass. Make sure you register with the code CN17A515 and note that this offer is only valid for new registrants only. That code again is CN17A515. And if you're listening in your car and unable to write that down, don't worry. It's in the show notes for episode 120, which can be found at archispeakpodcast.com.
Welcome to Archispeak, the podcast that talks about what it's like to work in the profession of architecture.
Welcome to episode 120 of the Archispeak podcast. I'm Neil Pan.
I'm Evan Troxel.
And I'm Cormac Phelan.
And hey, we're finally wrapping up our summer vacation series of episodes here with what Evan's going to be doing this summer. So, Evan, why don't you get us started?
Before Evan gets started. So we're recording this a little early, and I wanted to acknowledge a birthday of somebody very special to us that has just recently passed. Can anybody guess whose birthday it was?
Who is that, Cormac?
Not
Mr.
us.
iPhone.
Mr. iPhone, that's right.
Or it
I
could
know
be
several
Mrs.
of
iPhone.
them. My Siri's a female voice.
Well, I was going to say it could be Mrs. iPhone. And in fact, probably.
Yeah.
But,
yeah,
birthday
that's
iPhone.
true. Happy birthday, iPhone. Yeah, and 10th anniversary of the iPhone going on sale, actually, which was
Right.
June 29th, 2007. So as we're recording this, it's the day after that. But yeah, so that was monumental, event, really, looking back, right? I mean, nobody really thought that maybe at the time. Or I shouldn't say nobody thought that, but there were many doubters like, what?
Oh,
a
yeah.
$600 phone? Nobody's going to pay that.
Or this will never catch on. I mean, where are the buttons? Where's your
Doesn't
keyboard?
have a keyboard. Fail.
It's really cool to kind of see all these stories that have come out at this 10-year anniversary. I think it's fun to go back and read those and kind of relive a lot of that stuff. I mean, I'm seeing all the people I worked at Apple Store with posting photos of launch day. And, I mean, Neil, you've been posting photos.
Yeah, I was
in
going to say.
line. All that stuff is really fun to kind of go back and look at again.
I thought it was great because here's Neil. I mean, you can almost chart your child's life by iPhones in a way. I mean, because here you are.
Well, and their lives have been documented with it. I mean, that's
exactly.
one thing that's
that
really
was
interesting.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up, because I was talking to somebody and they're just like, showed them a picture that I had taken and posted about first iPhone, and they're just like, "Oh, you're just Apple. You're such a nerd." And I was just like, "Well," I was like, "Pull out your phone real quick," and he pulls it out, and I was like,
it's funny.
It really looks like your phone was very much influenced by this phone, and showing him the picture. Of course, I was showing him the picture on my latest iPhone.
Yeah.
And
right.
And he was just like, well, is it really that much of a cultural impact? I'm like, yeah, it really has been, because I
don't think people think about it like that, because they just don't think deeply enough about how this thing has infiltrated every aspect of our culture and replaced so many things with this one device.
Right.
It is so ubiquitous, people don't even think of it that way because it's just such an accepted thing now.
Well, I mean, think about all of the different things. Let's bring it around to
architecture.
To architecture, and think about all of the different things that we do with it. We do punch lists with it. We go out and we measure buildings with it. We do surveys with it. I mean, we check the level of things with it. I mean, major communications. I mean, we almost ruined ourselves because now we can't get away from the office because it keeps following us because it's in our pocket.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it is a pretty huge event. It's just a small little, device, but it's something that's had a pretty huge impact on both the profession and most of the case, the society. So,
well, it's also allowed different parts of the world to really be connected, and because for them it is their computer, right. So, and it's mobile.
It is the thing that it has enabled so much of our current economy. with things like Facebook and Uber, and those things wouldn't exist the way that they do without
Uber and
a mobile platform like this.
Yeah, Uber and Lyft wouldn't even exist, right? Couldn't exist.
Hell, there's plenty of business models that would have never existed. I mean, Snapchat, they sell Snapchat for, $1 billion or however much crazy business it was. All it was,
Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram. And they've got all of these different business models that have purely developed around mobile devices and, mobile communication. So, I mean, like you said, Twitter, Facebook, all of those wouldn't have existed. Not like that. Not the way we do them now.
Right.
So, I mean...
So happy birthday.
Yeah. So happy birthday. So really, the kind of the point of bringing that up is because here we are about to talk to Evan about his vacation, and specifically one of the really big ones that I'm kind of excited to follow him, hopefully, through his mobile device, through his mobile eyes, and just see kind of what he's doing with some of his vacations. So
what are you doing, Evan?
I'm doing an epic adventure to Scandinavia. So I will be this, and I guess one of the reasons that this kind of ties in so well to the initial idea of the architectural adventure, which is the title of these series of episodes, and based on that AIA ad read, is just because this is truly an adventure that I'm going to be going on, and it has been enabled by the company that I work for. So this is a little bit of a plug for that too, just because I think this is such a cool thing that HMC does, and so it's called XREF. Have you heard of that terminology before?
Only through but specifically this is only through you, and I hope, and I know you're about to expand on it, but I want other people to listen to what you're about to explain and think about how this could enrich your own companies and your own employees by doing stuff
I would encourage firms to steal this idea for sure, because it's one of those extra benefits that I think really helps the culture of your company. And so what XREF is, and obviously we're playing off the name of XREF drawings, but we're XREFing people into other countries basically. And what this program is, it's kind of a travel fellowship where every year people create a proposal, and that proposal is then submitted. And so as many people who are eligible can submit the proposal, which is practically everybody in the company. And they could, but they don't, which is mind-blowing to me. But if you do, then your proposal gets split up into 2 different locations and reviewed by clients of the company. So the company uses this as a way to, create better relationships with clients. So they invite clients to, and they have a big dinner and they cater it, and the clients deliberate over which proposals should be accepted. And there's 2 that get accepted each year. And the winner of that competition, or the winners of that competition, get to go and make their XREF happen. And so XREFs can be for anywhere, for any purpose, and it's really just up to that jury to decide who gets to do it. And this is actually my second XREF win. My first one was back in 2008, and in 2009 I traveled to the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. And so I think it there's definitely some strategy that goes into creating a proposal that is noteworthy and something that people want to see fulfilled. And so you pick a destination, you kind of pick the purpose, and then you talk about how you're going to fulfill the requirements of XREF, which is to basically bring that experience back to HMC and share it with everybody, because the company really believes, then kind of as we've been saying in this series of podcasts all along, is that experiences enrich what we do. And along the way, because of devices like iPhone and all, camera and computing and all this stuff, people get to share in the experience as it's happening, which is kind of an added bonus. That was definitely one of the original ideas that I had in my first XREF, because that was 8 or 9 years ago now. I mean, that was a new thing. And so one of my big selling points at that time was, you can go with me on this trip, or you can follow, along on a day-by-day basis. And so obviously that's ubiquitous now. It's kind of expected now, but back then it wasn't. And so this new one, I'm going to be traveling to Scandinavia. And the idea that I had was to reconnect with my roots, which my family's Finnish on my mom's side. So we'll be going back to Finland to, basically track where we came from. Reconnect with architecture. One of my favorite architects in the whole world is Alvar Aalto. So I'm going to be visiting as much Aalto as I can. And then reconnect with adventure. And you guys know how much I like to be outside. That's my sanctuary. If I can disconnect from the day-to-day work and reconnect with nature, I mean, that definitely impacts who I am and what I do. And so it was kind of the 3 ideas coming together that really formed the basis of this proposal. And so, and just to kind of get this out of the way, how the proposal works, so that if anybody else wants to steal this idea, is the company, once they deliberate and pick the 2 winners are announced. They each get $4,000 to make this happen, and they get 40 hours of paid time off. So they actually do more than just say, go and bring this back to the company. They actually enable you to do it. And so through, some kind of accounting system, they make all that happen, and it's pretty cool. So I'm excited.
It's just fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And then everybody is on the hook then to bring back basically a presentation to the company and talk about the impact and the experience and all that stuff.
So Evan, I'm curious, is this like the initial thing that you put together, is it just written, or is there graphics to it, or is there a presentation done? What's the kind of nuts and bolts about how you do a submittal for this?
So yeah, it's a graphic presentation. It has to fit within a 12 by 12 by 12 cube. And most people submit a booklet because those are easily portable and people can read through them. Basically, the clients who are on the jury can read through it ahead of time so that when they come to the dinner, they're ready to deliberate. So what they do is you submit 3 booklets and then you submit a PDF. They get a PDF over email ahead of time, and then they actually get to go through the booklets when they're there at the dinner. And because our offices are all over the state of California and a couple of closely neighboring states here, we basically split it up into a northern and a southern jury. And so they each pick one winner. And so you never know where your stuff's going to go. You never know who your jury's going to be. The jury members don't know who you are. And what's interesting to me about the thing is, lots of people say they're going to enter, but not a lot of people do. So
it sounds like a lot of work to actually enter this.
It can be. It's totally up to you how much work you want it to make and how good you want the presentation to be. And I mean, as a designer, I do feel like I have a leg up because I know how to make this stuff. But one thing that I did after I won the first one, I was on the committee for a while, and I would hold, like, I don't know, crits after work. I would have crits for XREF after work so that people could present their ideas and everybody else could help make them better or talk about how that presentation could be made better. Because I felt like a lot of people do these proposals in secret, and I always felt like, just like a project, if you talk about it and you talk about it out loud, it helps you form your ideas more concretely, and other people can help make that idea even better or come across even better. And so people that I had done this for, we basically had it like after work. I ordered pizzas. I had people all come together and just pin their work up and talk about it. A lot of those people who did participate in that ended up winning as well. So every once in a while you get an outlier who just does it in secret and then just, they end up winning and nobody knew they even entered. But for the most part, people say, I'm going to do this, and then life gets in the way and then they don't do it. And I end up competing against, there's probably like less than 20 people who actually enter, and then they pick 2 out of that. So the odds are really good. It's pretty amazing odds for the amount of payback that you actually get out of it. And so then you just have to tell a compelling story.
Have you ever asked or polled the office to find out why so few people in a company of 400 or so? Or
I think that people just mainly struggle with all their other deadlines and all the other life that happens. Lots of people have kids, and so I did mine. So I'm going to give away some of my secrets here because that's what we do on this podcast. Is I do it the night before. I do it just like everything else. I procrastinate, and I do it the night before. And I have to tell you, with this one, I really struggled. I knew where I wanted to go. I knew what I wanted to see, but I did not know how to tell the story in a compelling way. And so I just kept collecting information. I'm throwing tons of stuff into Evernote and just kind of sifting through it. And it was probably making it even worse just because there's so much that you could do and see. And then it wasn't until like 1 or 2 in the morning where it clicked. Okay, these are the 3 things, right? It's going to be my history, reconnecting with architecture, and reconnecting with nature. So this idea, and I called the proposal roots. I mean, these are my roots, right? It's my family, it's what I do, the roots of my profession, and it's the roots of who I am, which is the outdoors, being connected with nature, because that really informs what I do as a designer, I feel like. And so the idea of those 3 things became crystal clear at 1 or 2 in the morning, and then all I had to do was produce that. And I had done all the layout. I'm just using InDesign and throwing awesome photography into there, and I'm writing up kind of what those three things mean to me. And in the morning, I had one printout, like I did a proof printout here at home, and my wife, I'm like, here it is, and she read it and she goes, "We won." So she knew it. She knew it right away. And
That's
and I
awesome.
think it was the same thing with my previous proposal. It's like I knew I was going to win that. And I don't think everybody knows whether they're going to win or not. And I don't know why I felt that way, but I did. I just felt like it came together so well that it was obvious to us. And so when they actually announced it, we have these quarterly meetings in the office, and they do these Skype meetings so that all the offices can participate at the same time. And I was in a room, and they announced the winners of XREF, and the first winner was one of my colleagues, and she went to Cuba, and she's already done her trip, and so they say her name, and she's in the room with me, so everybody yells and screams, "Woo! Nicole won!" Right, and then he says the other name, and nobody hears it, and so I'm like, what just happened? Right? Did I win? Because who else won is the big question. Everybody's like, who else was it? Nobody knows, right, in the room.
Oh, no.
And I get a text message from a friend of mine. He's like, congrats. Because he was in another room or in another office, and and I'm like replying, congrats to what? He's like, you won. So that was really cool. And so that was months and months and months ago. So this has kind of been building up to get to this point. But and I kind of alluded to this in the first episode when we were talking about just kind of all the different trips that the AIA is offering for their architectural adventures. It is a lot of work to plan for a trip of this scale. I mean, I've never been there before. I know one person who lives in that region of the world. Luckily, I've had a couple friends who have visited different pieces of Norway and Finland and Sweden and Iceland before, but so I've just kind of been pulling lots of details. And obviously the internet makes it easier, but I would also argue that it makes it kind of overwhelming. There's just, how do you figure out what you're going to do and in what order? And what do it's very expensive. I mean, that's one of the things with my proposals that I always try to do is push the limits of, I make it so that there would be no way that I could do this without winning XREF. Right? It's just it's such an epic trip that without their additional paid time off and money, I wouldn't be able to do this trip.
So what are some of the highlights for your itinerary?
So my itinerary, I'm leaving out of LA, obviously, and I'm going to Iceland on the way. And this was just kind of a late addition to the trip, but because of the airline I chose, I can basically do a free layover or a stopover in Iceland. And so I'll be there for 3.5 days on the way. So if you're wondering, this is WOW Air, and WOW is an Icelandic airline. Everything goes through Reykjavik. And so that's why they offer this as an option. And it is very cheap. It is the Southwest of international air travel.
Yeah. I've had friends who have both done like a week trip to Iceland recently, and one who did just a weekend trip. Kind of like a 4-day weekend, and it's incredibly cheap. It's kind of cheap to even stay there, and backpacked. They hiked. They did a lot of outdoorsy stuff, and they just absolutely loved it. I mean, they've had absolutely nothing but great things. They're definitely going back to that. It was funny. I just recently took one of those little Facebook, answer these and we'll tell you, where you should be living. Mm-hmm. And apparently I should be living in Iceland.
Fermented shark eating Cormac Phelan.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what they're known for, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's lots of waterfalls and amazing scenery that you can't see anywhere else. I mean, there's no
volcanoes.
Trees.
Don't forget the volcanoes.
Trees. So yeah, it's gonna be very cool. So that's stop number one, and I'm obviously looking forward to some of the architecture in Reykjavik, and then just getting out and getting away. There's the Golden Circle. There's kind of the southern edge of the island. There's a glacier bay.
You could drive the whole thing in like a day.
I think it's bigger than you think. This is not like Hawaii, but I would say I'm only going to see kind of the southwestern edge of Iceland. And what's kind of interesting is it's right on the continental plates where they kind of come together. And there's actually, the North American plate and the European plate, and there's a bridge that they've built that bridges between the two continents, and it's on Iceland. And so, like, on one side you can be in North America, and on the other side you can be in Europe. It's really kind of a interesting concept that I've never experienced before.
So where are you going after that?
So after that, we fly to Stockholm, and we're there for just a little bit before we get on a boat to Helsinki, Finland. So we're actually traveling to Helsinki via like one overnight cruise. And, I decided to do it that way just because it's slow travel, right? Like the jet travel is fast, and you get to the place. And to me, like my wife and I, we did an Alaskan cruise on our honeymoon we got married in Zion National Park. Then we flew up to Anchorage, and we did a cruise all the way back down. And it was just something. I'm definitely not a cruise person, and so I'm still a little bit leery about this, but it's a great way to see the things that you can see only by boat, and you're not racing through it. So that was kind of important, I think. And because the sun barely sets in Scandinavia, especially during the summertime, right? It's the opposite in the wintertime. But in the summertime, like the sun goes down at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and it just barely dips below the horizon. Then it's back up at 12:30, 1:30 in the morning.
Oh, no.
And so what's interesting, like when you travel there,
sightseeing.
You do a lot of sightseeing. You do more than you could do here.
Right.
And so, you're going to be on a boat, and you're going to sleep as much as you need to sleep. But for the most part, you're going to be able to go out and just sit and watch and see all of that amazing scenery.
Nice.
So Helsinki is obviously, the capital of Finland, and that's where Alvar Aalto practiced. His office is there, still there. It's a museum now. And the most Aalto you can see is around those parts. And so when we dock, I should say, in Helsinki, we're going to be just kind of on foot for a day using the city transportation that I've heard is amazing over there, and visit as much as we can. So throw the bags in a locker and just go. And so this is much more a trip than a vacation, right? This is definitely a trek that we're expecting to do a lot, and we're hoping to interject that with some relaxing days. But for the most part, we're going to be go, kind of like you were, Neil, when you were in New York City. So
right.
Then a friend of mine who I used to play in the band with, he was our first drummer before life got in the way for him, and he lives an hour out of Helsinki, and he owns a farm. So he used to work with abused and neglected kids in a children's home when he lived here, and that's the connection with our lead singer Jared, who that's why the band was called System Kid. I mean, it was all about kind of the experiences of working in this place. They worked together there, and now he married a Finnish girl. He bought her father's farm when he retired, and now he's a farmer. And my wife and I are so excited to go see them and live on a farm for a few days and see what they do.
Cool.
I mean, it's really, so they're basically homesteaders. He sells his stuff for a living that he grows on the farm, and both animals and vegetable products. And then we're going to be, he said, stay here, take my car, go do whatever you want. And so that was awesome just to make that connection again. And so we're going to drive and just get as much Alvar Aalto in pretty much on the second day there that we can.
So is it just you and your wife, or the family coming?
Just my wife and I. Like I was saying, this is a very expensive trip.
Yeah.
And not that it isn't expensive to leave kids here and figure out what they're going to do, but alternatively, it's much more affordable. And I don't know about you guys, but could you fly coach across the world and with 4 kids and have, it just sounds like something that I don't even know that I'm capable of doing, So, needless to say, we're not taking the kids this time.
And you're going to be gone for a while, right? This is not a short trip. This is part of the reason we're recording this a little earlier than the air date for this episode.
Yeah, 3 weeks. 3 weeks.
Nice.
More than 3 weeks because it's 3 work weeks plus all the weekends in between.
Wow.
So.
I don't even know how I would act having that much time off, but also like, just being able to detach. And I know you're going to have success at that, but
it takes a while to detach. I mean, for sure. I totally understand what you mean, but I don't think it's going to happen right away because it doesn't really hit you for a while. Plus you're dealing with jet lag and you're dealing with foreign currencies and languages and all this other stuff. So you're working, but it'll soak in at some point along the way. I always feel like it takes, a few days, if not a week, to kind of understand that you are not working anymore.
Yeah, it's like, how do you, like, I don't know. Every time I go on vacation, I always feel this like overwhelming guilt that I'm not doing something that is progressing the project or something.
Stop that. Don't think that way.
No, trust me. I every time, especially in my upcoming trip to Northern Michigan and our annual camping trip and stuff, I've learned that phone stays in the car, completely detached. We're going to go find this stream that's got kind of like this little, kind of a small waterfall that you stand on and you dive into like this little swimming hole. You don't do that while you're thinking of work. So you just kind of got to get away. But 3 weeks, that's kind of monumental.
Speaking of that, Evan, how are you dealing with that at your office? I mean, is there a break in between projects for you?
Yep.
Or
Yep.
Okay.
Just got lucky.
Okay.
And because there's never a good time to leave,
right,
especially for 3 weeks. But it's one good thing about our company. I think that we do really have a great work-life balance in place, and there aren't death-defying expectations on projects. So we make it happen. Like, we know how important this is, and the people I work with go on 2-week vacations to 3-week vacations every once in a while, and it's not like I'm going to do 3 weeks every year.
Right.
It just happens to be that this is the best way to do this one. So anyway, it works. I submitted my paid time off request and it was approved, and so there you go. You have to ask, and make it. I guess it's
right, because everybody has to schedule around the fact that you'll be gone for 3 weeks.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I don't expect to have to work on any projects while I'm off on the road. I am not even bringing a laptop. So
perfect. Yeah. So what's the best way people can follow? If our listeners want to follow you on this trip as much as HMC, what's the best way that you'll be doing that?
So good question. I think probably the best way is just going to be through Instagram. So we'll put a link in the show notes for that. And I think that I don't know that I'm going to publish much to my blog while I'm there. Data is expensive. So I'm going to probably limit that as much as I can, and I'll be putting stuff together once I get back for the most part. But if I do day-to-day stuff, it'll be through Instagram.
I'll tell you.
Keep it simple.
I'm definitely going to be looking forward to the photographs.
Well, this is a great opportunity for me to kind of reconnect with photography for sure, because I don't get to just shoot with my real camera. I say that in air quotes. There's some opportunities, but I plan on shooting a lot of photography this time. And I'm not going to probably go back to these locations. There's so many other places in the world that I want to go. So I'm going to capture as much as I can and also try to just experience as much as I can. So I'm looking forward to reconnecting with the camera for sure. So anyway, after Finland, we're going to fly over to the west coast of Norway on a quick little flight. And then we go to Bergen, which is a port town on that west coast. Really, this stuff is, what I'm really looking forward to is how old everything is. There's stave churches from the 1200s over there. There's just nothing like that over in the U.S., right? So Norway is also a pretty expensive country to be in. We're going to be one cool thing, just travel hacking kind of stuff. Airbnb is awesome for Scandinavia. Actually, one thing that's happened since I did all this, the whole country of Sweden went on Airbnb, and so you can actually camp anywhere on
Wait,
any
what?
land in Sweden that's not private.
Really?
Private land. Yes.
That's insane. I mean, it's
And
cool.
so it is. And I mean, obviously this is a big PR thing for Sweden and Airbnb to do this together, but it wasn't like a paid placement for them on Airbnb. So Norway, fjords, like, thumbs up, fjords, it's going to be awesome. We're going to be doing train rides and boat rides and all kinds of stuff. We're doing this. It's called Norway in a nutshell, but basically they figure out all the transportation for you, and then I figured out all the places to stay along the way. Bunch of overnights in kind of the middle of Norway, not getting too far north, just because Norway is enormously huge, and all of the coastline is like real wiggly, right? So it doesn't look like you're going very far, but the roads are hairpin turns going up very steep mountains, and it's just one of those things where you cannot cover actually a lot of ground very quickly there because of the terrain. We'll be going up through all the fjords all the way up to Geiranger, and then taking trains back over to Oslo, which is kind of a southern/southeastern port town, capital, obviously, visiting the architecture of Norway and all the museums. So Viking ship museums, the
cool.
Opera House by Snøhetta. Just there's, castles in the kingdom.
Stop! You're killing me.
It's just gonna be awesome. So we'll be in Oslo for a couple days, and then we get on another train over back to Stockholm, Sweden. And so that train ride is also supposed to be amazingly beautiful. And we'll be in Stockholm for a couple days before we fly home. And I mean, just, you say you're going to be in Stockholm for a couple days, but that's obviously a whole thing all in itself.
Yeah, well, I'm going to Detroit.
I'm very fortunate. I can't even believe this is real.
It sounds amazing.
Yeah, I'm super excited to even have the opportunity to have this experience. And I mean, just if I could give anybody advice out there, I mean, travel, get those experiences, but also make it happen. Like it is work, no doubt. And I think a lot of people shy away from planning trips that are a lot of work because it's vacation, right? I mean, you want to just kind of pay to get to the spot to sit and just relax and gel. And I totally see the value in those kinds of vacations. And I also see a lot of value in doing these kinds of trips and treks.
Well,
I know I'll get a lot out of it.
And we've talked about it, that this is something that, not only just kind of like recharges you and kind of enriches your soul, but it also enriches your design sensibilities, you seeing other things and kind of being able to like pull those experiences, just like Neil was talking about with the Highline and things like that, being able to pull those experiences into your projects. So, I mean, it's going to be great.
I know look forward to the Viking ship school coming soon.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
I know that we say that this is kind of like the wrap-up show of our summer vacation stuff and everything else, but we are going to have one more show when we talk to you about this one, and maybe make it a very interactive show with lots of photographs, or at least lots of links to your blog and stuff. Yeah, because that's going to be getting excited by just listening to the itinerary is one thing, but just listening to how excited you're going to be once you've actually experienced it all, that's most certainly a show in itself. And that'll be like probably a two-parter, because I'm like, tell me more.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't use travel agents for any of this stuff, and I feel like, you guys know how I started getting up at 5 o'clock when I was studying for my exams, and then I never stopped. That's how I wrote my book, and now that's how I planned this trip. And seriously, it took a long time to figure it all out and actually decide what to do. And so I'm really looking forward to having all that planning kind of pay off, and where I can actually just look at the calendar and figure out where I need to be, when I need to be there, and know that it's already been really figured out. So that's cool.
Well, we definitely saved the best for last, right?
Most certainly.
Wow. What an epic trip.
Yeah, they just don't come around that often. That's for sure.
And when this episode goes live, actually, you're listening to it now, Evan is on his trip right now. So definitely check out the show notes for looking at his Instagram, because
yeah,
I'm sure by this point he'll already be on it and he'll have some photos already there, and there'll be more to follow.
Yep. Yeah.
So
anyway,
all right.
I encourage everybody to steal this idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Make your own XREF.
I think I'm going to be going and talking to my company pretty soon.
Yeah, I think everybody will.
I hope so. I mean, it would be great to do that. And it does tie in well with what the AIA is doing with their new travel program. But I think that offices should encourage things like this because it only makes a better employee.
Yeah, for sure. And to see kind of just the general excitement in the office, I get asked all the time, when are you going? When's your XREF? When are you doing this? And, people are genuinely excited for their peers to be able to do this kind of thing. So, and I hope just through the presentation and through people following along that they would get excited to submit next year, because it's one of those things that it's an opportunity that we offer that not very many people take advantage of, because it's work. I mean, I get it. It's work, but if you don't play, you can't win. So
that's right.
Now, I will say this, and maybe it's a little bit out of jealousy or whatever, but you've won it twice. I think it's time for you to let other people win, damn it.
So you weren't allowed to win twice ever before, but I think to encourage entries, because the turnout was so low for so many years. They changed the rule.
I mean, how could I don't know. I guess it's just baffling me because, I mean, this is a gift. The office is giving some potential persons to just put a little bit of effort into being excited about travel, and you can have an all-expense paid week off to go and travel and look at architecture. And the only payoff is you have to present that to your firm. Psh, please, I'm on.
A lot of people struggle with the idea. What's an idea that's worthy? Where I don't know where I should go. I don't know what and I don't think it's that hard. But I get it. People get paralysis over that kind of thing because they feel like they have to compete at such a high level. I don't think they do. I think that's just kind of a misnomer. Anyway, I do think the idea is important. I mean, that is probably the most important thing to win. But the way you tell that story can be crafted. It doesn't have to just figure itself out and then you just write it down like it just came to you all of a sudden. It needs to be something that you could work with other people on to help make it a better story. So
right. Wow, pretty amazing. Well, Evan, I'm looking forward to following you on this one. So we're all going to have fun with this one, so definitely, and we will definitely in a future episode follow up with how it all went.
Awesome, sounds good.
All right. Well, everyone, before we go, we want to thank our episode sponsors. First, we have ARCAT. Check out all the features they offer at arcat.com. We're also sponsored by the AIA and their April release of 11 revised AIA forms and contracts with an additional 18 forms and agreements that will be released this fall. To learn more, visit aiacontracts.org. And thanks to Construct. Visit constructshow.com to learn more about the upcoming conference being held at the Rhode Island Convention Center between September 13th and through the 15th. Thanks to all of them for sponsoring this episode of Archispeak. Remember to visit the website at archispeakpodcast.com for links to our catalog of episodes and to sign up for our newsletter, which includes links to everything we mentioned in the episode, including all of the great photos that we will be posting eventually. And between episodes, join the conversation on our Facebook page or Twitter. Links to all of that can be found at the main site, archispeakpodcast.com. Stay subscribed, everyone, and thanks for listening.
Travel on.
Enjoy your vacations.
And have fun.
And share them with us.
That's right.
I joined the choir to sing. They're all competing for some other thing. I joined the choir to sing. I joined the choir to sing. They're all competing for some other thing. I joined the choir to sing. up, let it fill up like gasoline tank go. I serve my nation, I need a God. Sadness, my city with all that I've got. But when I'm ready, pleasure is here. So I'm running on into and this is clear. Spend time with folks at the home. How you doing? What you doing, boss? With my people, how's it going? How did you get your rock? Spend time with folks, don't know I like it automatic. With my people, how you going? I joined the army too. I joined the army too. I'm not friends with the police number 2. I joined the army too. I serve my nation, I'm the God. Service my city with all that I've got. But when I'm running, pleasure is here. So I'm running to run this is good. I serve my nation,